Hey folks, my name is Jen, and today we are going to do something a little bit different. Well, something similar to what we've done before, but also different. Yeah. So, previously, back in like July, I want to say, I did a video that was just talking about summer vibes, like what my particular summer vibes have been, stuff that I was into. And I wanted to do the same kind of thing for fall. Fall is my favorite season. We are into October now. I love October. And yeah, so I just wanted to have a little chat about what my fall vibes are looking like and see where we're at. So first up is the flavors of fall, basically. I have my dapper looking foxy Stephen King mug right here. I have some hazelnut coffee that's been like a big thing, has been hazelnut coffee. Very into, it's called Constant Comment tea. I think it's like Twinings, I believe, or maybe it's Bigelow. It's one of those, but the flavor is Constant Comment, and it's just like this tea that has like some orange and spices in it, and I always end up thinking about like fall and like winter Christmassy stuff as well when I have that tea, and that's just kind of what I've been into lately. Pumpkin everything has also been a thing. Dunkin', I've definitely been going to Dunkin' a lot more since they came back with the pumpkin spice flavors. I know I'm like a basic bitch or whatever. I love pumpkin spice iced coffee. So big on the hot coffee version, but the iced coffee, love it. They have this thing this year. I think it's new this year. I don't think it was something they offered last year, but it's Nutty Pumpkin, and it is pumpkin spiced iced coffee, but then you can do like a couple of shots of hazelnut in there as well, and it's just like real good. So yeah, it's basically been full of a lot of like pumpkin. I won't say pumpkin everything, because there's definitely pumpkin spice, like certain things that I don't like. Like I really don't like the Oreos. I'm not a big fan of the pumpkin spice cereal and stuff like that, but I do love pumpkin muffins and cookies and cheesecake and cake, and there's a pumpkin cake that I make every fall and also sometimes for Christmas, and it's really good. And I also just love like pumpkin pie and stuff like that. We haven't had pumpkin pie yet, but soon. Besides pumpkins, apples. Apples a big thing too. I visited my folks recently and we had some apple things. We went apple picking. The apples are a little small this year for the most part. I think it's because it was just a hard, kind of very dry year for them, but they still smell so good. We got a whole bunch of different apples. I'll like post a picture somewhere in here so you can see. It was such a pretty day, and I love going apple picking, just walking down through the rows, and the apple orchard that we go to by my folks, which is the one we always went to when I was growing up. It's really nice. It's kind of out, more rural, and the trees were specially bred to be smaller, so you don't have to get up on a ladder to go apple picking. You can just stand right there and grab the apples, and if you have to, maybe you stand up in your tippy toes or something. You don't have to climb anything, which is very nice. So it was really nice. We had a beautiful day for it. I just love walking through and enjoying the weather and the time outside and the smell of the apples and everything, and hearing like cows in the field nearby, and just like, you know, crunching on a couple of apples while you walk through and select what you want to make. Yeah, that's just one of my favorite fall activities basically, so I was really glad that we were able to go do that. I made apple crisp, which was delicious. We just finished it last night, and then my husband made apple cider, and he just made another batch because we had like a whole bushel So he's made a second batch this today, and it's really good. Like, it's really good cold, but it's also very nice heated up, especially if you like to heat it up and then throw a little something something in there. We have apple brandy, which went very nice with it, but my sister-in-law also put in some salted caramel vodka in it too, and that tasted very nice. If you are more alcohol inclined, I would suggest one of those with it. If you guys have another particular, like, something that you like to put in your apple cider, definitely let me know, because I'm open to hearing more suggestions. Let's see, scents. Well, it smells like fall now. The color is starting to change. I can throw up some pictures too, so you can see like how things are. I know we're like really lucky in New England to have like the leaf changes and everything. I'm not sure if that happens other places. Really, I haven't been, I don't think, to any other parts of the country in the fall, so I don't know if everything changes in particularly. If you're from a different part of the country, let me know. I assume that also in like the other northern parts that the leaves also turn, but I don't know about the south, to be honest. If you're from the south, let me know, because yeah, like I said, I've never been outside of New England during like the fall, so I honestly don't know. Yeah, everything kind of like it's starting to really look pretty. It smells like fall. It's those great like crisp scents and the decaying leaves and everything, which I guess sounds really weird to say that's like a great scent, but it's like one of my favorite ones. Everything just feels so fresh and crisp, and everybody's like burning, like bonfires are starting their chimneys up, so you can smell that too. It's really nice. And speaking of scents, we switched over our air freshener from, I think we had like this lavender vanilla thing, we switched it over to apple and cinnamon, which honestly I think is my favorite scent to have in the house, because it always just feels so cozy and comforting, you know? Let's see, other stuff that I've kind of been vibing with this fall. Reading wise, we've been doing a lot of reading wise, well, in the fall and, well, any time of year I will read mysteries, but especially in the fall and winter I tend to get even more so into mysteries, so I've been doing a little bit more of that. Reading some more, I started up a couple of Agatha Christie's that I have read before, just because I kind of feel like it. I have been reading a couple of the books for the Booch You Readathon for this month. I've been making my way through those, so I'm like in Edgar Allan Poe right now, spooky, atmospheric. I've been listening to The Haunting of Hill House, also spooky, atmospheric. Same thing goes for The Shining. Been reading that for this month as well. Last month I was reading Hawthorne's short story collection. I mean, even the cover looks kind of fallish. I've kind of paused in this while I'm doing my reading for the readathon this month, but I am planning on getting back into this if I complete all of my books ahead of time, but definitely in November I plan on picking this up again and continuing my fall read of this. This is another one I've been going in for, like, apple and pumpkin recipes. It's one of my favorite cookbooks in a Vermont kitchen. It's by Amy Lyon and Lynn Andreen. So this has been a major one that I get into all the time because I have some really good recipes in there. As far as like watching things goes, I started The Shining but never actually finished it, so I really want to sit down and like get back into that. I watched this, like, I think the show is called The Haunting of or Haunted by or something. It's like a celebrity show, so like celebrities will come on and go back to the place where they experience like ghosts and stuff like that, and they will talk about that experience, and the psychic medium will come in and like go through it with them and kind of confirm things for them and like and that kind of thing. So that's interesting. We only watched like, I want to say like 2 episodes or something, but it was really interesting. Nailed It also has a Halloween version, which is pretty cool if you are into Nailed It baking show. Speaking of baking shows, Great British Bake Off, that has been a big thing. Me and my husband have been watching that. That's our usual thing when that comes on, is we like watching that 'cause it's just so heartwarming. And so even though I enjoy like Nailed It and I do like other American like cooking and baking shows and stuff like that, there's just something so comforting about Great British Bake Off, or Great British Baking Show, whichever way you call it. There's just something so nice about it because everyone is so kind to each other, and it's definitely not like your typical American competition show where people are just like sniping at each other and it's like this whole titan dramatic like thing of like, I'm gonna beat them and I'm not looking for friends here, I'm looking to win, like that kind of attitude. And you don't really find that in like the Great British Baking Show because everybody's just so chill. Everybody's so happy for the opportunity to be there, to be in the tent, to be making all of these like challenging dishes. They make friends with people, and it's so great because like they'll be down to the wire and people will, like whoever has finished theirs will then go around, and if somebody else is panicking and they're not quite done, they'll actually go over and like help each other. And it's such like a heartwarming show. And I also feel like, I know it's filmed during like this summer and stuff like that, but it usually comes out in the fall, and that's just such a wonderful start to fall too because it's very cozy and everything, and also really funny because the hosts are funny. But yeah, so we've been enjoying watching that as well. I definitely plan on trying to watch some more spooky things. I have I have a couple Hocus Pocus shirts. This particular one I love. But we're planning on watching the second Hocus Pocus on like Halloween weekend. We'll probably rewatch the first one then, like we always do. And I don't know what else we're gonna watch. Last year I think we did Rocky Horror, which is usually Rocky Horror Picture Show is a usual thing that we watch on Halloween, or at least a Halloween weekend. Sometimes we try to watch a horror movie, although at least one of my friends does not like scary movies, and my husband doesn't really enjoy them either. So we probably won't watch anything like too scary. Last year we ended up watching the cartoon Addams Family, so I imagine maybe we'll watch another version of the Addams Family. I do want to get back into watching the show again because I absolutely adore it. Then we get into like stuff that I've been kind of doing. Decorating. I've decorated the house. As you can see, I've got some like decor back behind me. We've decorated the house a little bit. I just about finished. I've got like one area left. That's been something too that I really enjoy doing. I am a sucker for Michaels. Pretty much most of my spending that maybe I probably shouldn't always do is either in a bookshop or it's in a craft store, because I love crafts and I love all of the seasonal decor and stuff that ends up being in Michaels all the time. So that's been a vibe too, is like going to Michaels and then trying to control myself when I'm at Michaels because there's so many cool, cute, and spooky things there. As for other stuff, I've been listening to things, like I said, I've been listening to the audiobook of The Haunting of Hill House, so that's been pretty good. I've also been listening to a few different podcasts. There's podcasts that I tend to listen to all year long, but I've definitely like hyped up the amount of spooky since like the beginning of September. Podcasts, I've still got, I think in my last one, the Summer Vibe one, Vintage Homicide, was one I talked about. That is by Ruby Wild and Miss Mayday. That's not their real names. Those are their, I think, stage names, because I believe that they also do like vintage like pinup stuff for charity and everything. So yeah, they're two forensic scientists, and they discuss cold either cold cases or just old cases, basically, and how those were affected by like historical bits of forensic science and stuff. It's really cool. I think I mentioned them in the summer, and I've still continued my listening to their show. I really love it. I also really enjoy the Fresh Hell podcast, and it is put on by two friends who have never met in person. One is from the US and the other is from Austria. And yeah, they cover basically murders, mysteries, and macabre. So spooky stuff, they'll talk about spooky stuff sometimes. They talk about a lot of vintage murder, but they'll also do more recent ones as well. And then they mysteries, like unsolved stuff or just weird things. They'll go into all of that. It's really cool. And it's really interesting to get different perspectives, because they'll cover a lot of like US cases and they'll cover a lot of like Austrian cases, but then they'll do a lot of other different international ones as well. And the macabre covers like spooky things, so they'll talk about like aliens and ghosts and weird creature paranormal stuff, but then they'll also talk about freak accidents. Like they had this whole couple of episodes on like freak water parks accidents, amusement park accidents, roller coaster stuff, like just weird things like that. And it's really entertaining, and also kind of spooky. Around now they tend to do more listener stories of like the spooky ghost stuff, so it's a prime time to listen to them, basically. I also have been listening to a little bit more of, well, I usually listen to weekly two podcasts that are put on by Andrew Tate. One is by Andrew Tate by himself, and it's Let's Not Meet, which are like stories of weird weird, creepy encounters that people have had involving like other people out there in the world. He also does one with, what is his name? Brandon Lanier. They do one called Odd Trails, which deals with the same kind of thing, but more like paranormal, like just mysterious, weird shit. Odd Trails. So that's really good. I also have been listening to two podcasts that I think they're both put on by the same guy, Edwin Kova, I'm gonna butcher his name, I'm so sorry. Edwin Covarrubias, and he does a couple of different podcasts, but the ones that I have been listening to, especially lately, is A Dark Memory, which is legends, basically ghost legends, haunted places and stuff like that. And then he also has True Scary Story, where people will call in basically and record their own, like them telling their scary story, which is actually similar to another spooky podcast that I really enjoy, which is called You Can See Me in the Dark, and this is by Melissa Sweezy and Nate Reisman, and it's the same kind of idea where listeners will call in and record their spooky experiences that they've had, and it's really cool. So other podcasts I also recently discovered and have been binging the hell out of, She Done It, which, oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget her name. She has such the loveliest voice and the sweetest English accent. Carolyn Crampton is who runs the podcast, and yeah, it's called She Done It, and basically what it is focusing on mostly the golden age of mystery. So like the authors that made up the golden age of mystery, like vintage mysteries and stuff like that, and it'll also go into true stories that and events and people that inspired some of their works. She'll also talk about like different themes within them, like why do people tend to reach for murder mysteries at Christmas time, and the psychology behind that, talking about different themes like female detectives, queer themes, like poison pen letters, different settings and stuff like that. You know, just very interesting, really in-depth into mysteries. So if you're really into mysteries, or you're interested in getting more into them, or you're like also a fan like me who really loves them but only really knows like Dorothy L. Sayers and Agatha Christie and Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett, but you'd like to know more, you want to learn about more like mystery authors from that time period. She discusses like a whole bunch of people. I actually I purchased more books, guys, I know, but I bought a couple of books by another author that she's been mentioning a lot, who is Naomi Marsh. I'd never heard of this person ever in my life, and she sounds really cool. So yeah, it's great for expanding your horizons if you love mysteries, but you realize that, wow, I don't read that much vintage mystery other than Sayers and Christie, so probably expand my horizons a little bit. Other stuff that I have been listening to, consult my little list here. Well, I've been listening to a lot of different music. So first off, jazz. Jazz is like a huge thing for me. I absolutely adore jazz music, and I've always adored jazz music. I don't know why that is exactly. Maybe some of it reminds me of like, you know, that cheerful little opening to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, or maybe it's because it reminds me of Christmas, because sometimes, you know, they'll have like, was it the Vince Guaraldi trio? Is that or quartet? It's the guy who did like the music for like all the Charlie Brown things, like Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. Nope, that's Roald Dahl. Charlie Brown and it's the Great Pumpkin. Charlie Brown. That's what I'm thinking of. The Great Pumpkin, Christmas Time. You know, that whole everything. So I don't know. I've just always really loved jazz music. It makes me happy. It chills me out, and I just love it. So I've been listening to a lot of jazz lately. My personal favorite is John Coltrane, but I also really love like Lance Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, Dizzy Gillespie, and Wynton Marsalis. I really like a lot of different jazz, and so I've been listening to kind of like a mix of their various albums, and also I found on Spotify a playlist, which is a Spotify made playlist, and it's called Jazzy Morning, and it's just so great. It's such a great thing to listen to in the morning when you're still like feeling kind of, if you don't need like a hyped up morning, if you just want to like have like an easy start to your day, like on a Monday or something where you really don't want to be at work, but you're just kind of like, I just want to ease into this week. It's like the perfect mix for that. Other music I've been listening to, well, I have been listening to Brian David Gilbert. He is a fellow YouTuber, although what he used to make, I believe, because he used to be part of, oh gosh, what is the website? Polygon? I think it's Polygon. Yeah, he used to be part of Polygon. He used to make a lot of like videos about like video game stuff. I know about him because my husband is super into video games, and we used to watch his videos sometimes. Lately he's been off on his own and making a lot of very strange videos that I absolutely love because they're so freaking weird. He last year came out with like a full like album basically, and a couple of music videos for Halloween themed songs, but it's like it's ABBA songs, but he made Halloween covers of the ABBA songs. So check it out. I'll leave a link down below if I can find like a full playlist of it. I'll leave a link down below so you can see what I'm talking about. As someone who loves Halloween, loves musical parodies, and absolutely adores ABBA, it's like such a niche thing that felt like it was made for me, and I just love it. So yeah, I've been listening to those a little bit, especially when I was decorating the house and really getting into like Halloween music. I made myself a little playlist, and yeah, I made myself a little playlist couple of years ago of just straight up Halloween music, and it's just a mixture from like scary movies and stuff from Rocky Horror, stuff from Little Shop of Horrors, what else do I have on there? Ghostbusters, both of like all of the Ghostbusters movies, just various like songs from different soundtracks and like the Haunted Mansion and like all different kinds of things basically. So I've been listening to that playlist basically of all of this stuff, Nightmare Before Christmas songs, things like that. So it's just trying to get into the mood, especially like I said while I was decorating for like finishing decorating for Halloween. And let me see, the last thing that I've really been listening to lately, I've kind of, in my last video about like vibes and stuff like that, this summer I got really obsessed with Coheed and Cambria's new album. I still have, I'm still like listening to that here and there, but I've kind of dropped off from listening to the album like consistently every other day, basically. Now I've dropped off to just listening to the same like 4 songs, like my favorite 4 songs off the album. I listen to that like a couple of times a week. The album that I have been listening to a lot of, I've been listening to Aurora. Her music always feels like either fall or spring to me, so I've been listening to a couple of her albums. Again, my favorite, I think, my favorite album of hers is All My Demons Greeting Me as a Friend. Is that what it is? Yeah, All My Demons Greeting Me as a Friend. That is my favorite album of hers, so I've been re-listening to that again. And things look slightly darker now. Apologies. I had to go away for like an hour. Now it's dark out, so. Alright, back into it. What I was saying was, the last thing I've really been into lately has been this recent album that came out, which is called Human Overboard, and it is by James and the Shame, which is a band, or rather a one-man band, basically, sort of. I don't think there's really anybody else involved except for him, but it's Rhett McLaughlin of Good Mythical Morning. If you know that YouTube show, Rhett McLaughlin and Link Neal have been hosting it for, I think, like over a decade now. Before that, they had, their channel was Rhett and Link. So they're, you know, they have their YouTube channel. They do a couple of different other like video projects. They have written a couple of books together, and they've made a game, card game as well, and all different kinds of stuff. And most recently Rhett has done his own like side project. They do musical stuff as well, but he's done his own side project, which is James and the Shame. The album is basically an entire country album based off of Rhett's own experience with his spiritual deconstruction, or religious deconstruction rather. He and Link were both raised as evangelical Christians in the South, and they've been on kind of like a spiritual path journey, like deconstructing everything they were taught over time. And so this album is like very personal and related specifically to those feelings and that experience and everything. Now, I am not someone who's like super into country music as a whole. I used to listen to a lot more of it when I was growing up, just because that's what most people around me were listening to, like a chunk of people around me were listening to. I like the Chicks, I like Darius Rucker. I enjoy a few songs here and there, but it's not something that I am particularly enthralled with or something that I really listen to a lot of, just because it's just not really my taste anymore. I'm also very like picky about what certain sound of country basically that I'll listen to. But this album is, the sound the vibe, the sound vibe of it is not really country that I would listen to, but the lyrics and everything involved are just exactly what I need to hear or needed to hear. I mean, personally, I was not raised evangelical Christian in the South, but I was raised Catholic, and I have gone through my own, I won't say deconstruction, because I've never ever really been like fully invested in the religion that I was raised in. I was just kind of going through the motions essentially and just kind of there. But some of the lyrics end up bringing up some things, you know, about how feeling how you are with other people, being judged by other people, especially within that community, or, you know, feelings of, am I disappointing my entire family, and, you know, tough stuff like that. So a lot of that has been very, I guess comforting maybe is the right word for the album, like comforting, something to connect to, and yeah, plus there's a couple of tunes on it that are just like real good. But yeah, so it's been like, it's something that I have listened to at least twice a week since it came out, and it came out like, like a week or two ago, a couple of weeks ago or something like that. So yeah, I've been listening to it a lot recently and just connecting with it and sitting in my feelings pretty much. If you are interested in checking that out, if you're someone who is also going through or has gone through that kind of thing, I would suggest checking it out. If you're a fan of Rhett and Link and you have not heard about the album yet, I mean, that's also something. If you just want to sit in your own feelings about some stuff, check that out too. But and that's it, guys. That is everything basically that I have been into this fall so far. You know, I'm sure more things will come up, but basically that's how my fall's been vibing so far. Let me know if any of this is also stuff that you've been into recently, what your fall vibe has been. Are you going more creepy? Are you going more cute fall? Vintage fall? There's also like a really interesting vintage autumn playlist that I think I found it here on YouTube. So if I can, if I remember when I'm editing this, I'll try to link that too. It's just old fall songs and stuff like that. But yeah, let me know what your fall's been like. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing if you would, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.